The heat in Abuja was ruthless, but Zainab Musa was used to walking through fire. Her slippers had broken on the bus from Nyanya, so she walked barefoot down the polished sidewalks of the central business district, dust clinging to her feet like memory. Clutched under her arm was a slightly creased CV, damp with sweat and defiance. Around her, job seekers stepped out of tinted SUVs in tailored suits, exuding confidence and cologne. Zainab had only her will. Inside the mirrored tower of Danjuma Capital, Khalid Danjuma leaned against his desk, scrolling past resumes. All the same, he muttered. Privileged kids with empty spines. Billionaire, strategist. Known for firing assistants faster than most could be onboarded, Khalid trusted no one. Not since Paris. Zainab didn't have an appointment. She didn't even have shoes. But she walked into the marble lobby, chin high. The receptionist raised a brow. This isn't a charity center. I have a degree, I have grit, and I work harder than anyone with imported shoes, Zainab replied. Her fire caught the attention of the HR manager. Minutes later, she stood before Khalid himself. He studied her, barefoot, proud, unbending. Your name? He asked, tossing a pen her way. Zainab, she said, catching it mid-air. I'm not here for pity. I'm here to earn it. Khalid smirked. Come back tomorrow. 8 a.m. sharp. This wasn't kindness. This was curiosity. At exactly 7:59 a.m., Zainab walked into Danjuma Capital, wearing a borrowed white shirt and her cousin's black trousers. Her natural hair was neatly packed, her shoulders squared. The office gleamed with glass and silence. Power suits glanced her way with thinly veiled judgment. Khalid didn't look up as she entered. You're early, he said. That's rare. Sit. You have 100 emails to reply to. By noon, she'd mapped out the company's internal structure, reorganized his calendar, and responded to priority messages with a precision that surprised even the HR manager. Khalid said nothing. Instead, he tossed her a key. Keep this drawer locked. Inside is a limited edition tourbillon watch, worth more than your entire apartment. Don't touch it. Zainab met his eyes with a steady gaze. Respect isn't negotiable, sir. The next morning, the drawer was open. The watch was gone. Khalid stormed into the office like thunder. Where is it? He growled, slamming a file down. Zainab froze. I didn't touch it, she whispered, her throat tightening. Security stood nearby. The room turned against her. She'd fought her whole life to escape the stereotype, and now it clung to her like a stain. You think because I'm poor, I'm a thief? She said, voice shaking but proud. Just as the guards moved, Khalid's phone buzzed. CCTV footage revealed the truth. His ex, Tamar Waziri, had stormed in the night before, using her still-active keycard. Khalid paled. You're reinstated. Zainab said nothing. She returned to her desk and resumed typing. But inside, something cracked. This job was no longer about survival. Now, it was personal. Khalid watched her through the glass wall. Zainab, calm, efficient, untouched by his presence. After the false accusation, she never once asked for an apology. That unsettled him. Most people tried to impress or fear him. Zainab did neither. That afternoon, he called her in. You're staying too far from the office, he said flatly. I had my driver follow you. Her eyes narrowed. You had me followed. I need you sharp. I've arranged an apartment at Jarby Lakeview Estate. Close, secure, covered. Zainab bristled. I didn't ask for handouts. It's not charity. It's logistics. She hated how he made every personal decision sound like a spreadsheet. That weekend, she stepped into the apartment and froze. It was massive, sunlit. Too much. Glass doors opened to a wide balcony with a view of the lake. Then, across the courtyard, she saw him, Khalid, on his terrace, shirt unbuttoned, sipping whiskey. Their eyes locked. He raised his glass. She closed the curtains. On Monday, neither of them mentioned it. Still, something shifted. He no longer barked at her suggestions. She no longer flinched at his silence. They worked like two people orbiting a fragile truce. In the mornings, she brought him coffee. No words, just the quiet handoff of trust. But one night she couldn't sleep. She opened her old anonymous chat room app, the only place she ever truly vented. One user, Night Watcher had always felt. Familiar. "I did the right thing," she typed, "and still got punished for it." The reply came instantly. Sometimes the right thing costs everything, but the truth always finds its way. Zainab stared at the screen, unsettled. It felt like someone knew her, too well. Khalid had been tense all morning. His words were clipped, his jaw clenched as he reviewed reports. Zainab sensed the storm beneath his silence. When she asked if something was wrong, he muttered, "The board's moving behind my back." She didn't press, until she heard something that made her blood run cold. Outside the executive lounge, she paused at the sound of hushed voices. Khalid's COO, Mr. Kabiru, spoke urgently into his phone. "The files will be on your desk tomorrow. Once they leak, Danjuma Capital falls. He won't know what hit him." Her stomach flipped. She didn't understand all the jargon, but betrayal didn't need translation. She returned to her desk, heart racing. That evening, with Khalid alone in his office, she knocked once and entered. "I need to tell you something." He looked up. "Your COO is planning to sell internal files to a competitor." His eyes darkened. "Do you have proof?" "No," she admitted. "But I heard everything." Silence fell between them, cold, heavy. "Thank you," he said finally, "but I don't pay you to eavesdrop." The next morning, her ID didn't work. On her desk, a sealed envelope. Termination for breach of conduct. She packed in silence, her chest tight with humiliation. She hadn't cried when she was barefoot, not when she was accused of theft. But this betrayal broke her. As she neared the elevator, security rushed past her toward the boardroom. Shouting, glass shattering. Then Khalid's voice, "You sold me out, Kabiru." She didn't smile, but deep inside, something settled. She had been right. Later that night, aching and restless, she logged back onto her anonymous chat room. "I trusted someone who didn't trust me back," she typed. The reply came fast. "He trusted you more than he knew. He just didn't know how to show it." Zainab froze. The style, the voice. Night Watcher was Khalid. Zainab hadn't seen Khalid since the Night Watcher revelation. She tried to erase him, worked at her neighbor's food kiosk, taught kids after school, swept her mother's shop, but his voice lingered in her head. Online, he had listened. In person, he had cut her down. Then one evening, a black SUV pulled up. A driver handed her an envelope. "You are cordially invited to the Danjuma Foundation Gala." At first, she laughed, but curiosity bloomed. After days of debate, she borrowed a sequined gown and styled her hair in an updo. If she showed up, it wasn't to beg. It was to remind him who she had become. The ballroom at Transcorp Hilton glittered with Abuja's elite. Women whispered behind champagne flutes. "Isn't that the assistant?" one sneered. "She used to walk barefoot." Zainab kept her chin high. Yes, she replied calmly. And yet, here I am. Khalid saw her across the room and froze mid-sentence. She wasn't just beautiful. She was undeniable, unshaken. A board member cornered her at the buffet. Quite the rise, Miss Musa. Word is you were almost fired twice. I was, she replied, but I walk better under pressure. Laughter, then silence. Khalid appeared behind her. She's the reason Danjuma Capital still stands, he said, and the most competent woman in this room. Zainab turned. His eyes held something raw. That night he walked her to the car. I meant what I said, he whispered, not out of guilt, out of respect. She stared back. Respect looks different in public than it does in private, Khalid. Then she entered the car without another word, leaving him alone under the soft lights, no longer the one in control. Zainab tried to forget. She returned to her small routines, mentoring girls, helping her mother in Nyanya. But something lingered. Not love. Not yet. Just the ghost of what might have been. Then one morning at Danjuma Capital, a loud crash echoed through the corridor. A staff member screamed. Zainab, visiting to pick up documents, rushed in. Khalid was on the floor, pale, unconscious. Paramedics arrived within minutes. Zainab rode with them in the ambulance, hands trembling. At the hospital, a nurse approached, frantic. We need AB negative blood. It's rare. Zainab blinked. I'm AB negative. Minutes later, she lay still as her blood flowed into a sterile bag. But it wasn't just blood. It felt like she was bleeding out everything. Anger, confusion, care she had tried to bury. Later, alone in recovery, a nurse left Khalid's chart nearby. Zainab tried not to look, but curiosity won. Diagnosis: hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Refused surgical treatment. Multiple times. First recorded Paris 3 years ago. Paris. She exhaled, the pieces finally aligning. The failed engagement. The fear. The loneliness. He wasn't heartless. He was scared. When Khalid woke up, she was at his bedside. Why didn't you tell anyone? She whispered. His voice was hoarse. I didn't want pity. You'd rather die alone than ask for help. He looked away. I already lost someone because of this. Zainab leaned in, voice steady, then stop shutting out the people trying to stay. His eyes welled, not with weakness, but with the first sign of release, of truth. That day, Zainab saw the man behind the empire. And for the first time, Khalid saw the one woman he could never afford to lose. Khalid returned to work after 2 weeks of rest, but he wasn't the same. The sharpness remained, but the walls had cracks. Zainab noticed. So did the board. He spoke less, listened more. Yet something still hung over him, unfinished, unsaid. Then one evening, while organizing files in his office, Zainab found a document labeled Urgent Inheritance Clause. Her eyes scanned the lines. To retain full control of Danjuma Capital, Khalid Danjuma must be legally married before his 36th birthday. Deadline: 4 months. Her breath caught. That night, she confronted him. Why didn't you tell me? He sat behind his desk, nursing a glass of scotch. Because it's not your problem. Really? She snapped. You made me your assistant, your nurse, your shadow. But this is where the honesty ends? He looked up. We could get married. The room froze. She blinked. Excuse me? Not for love. For logistics. A contract. 3 months. I keep the company. You get anything you want. Zainab stared at him, stunned. Anything I want? He nodded. Power. Freedom. Name it. It was the coldest proposal in Abuja. And yet, something fragile trembled beneath his words. "You think I want to be your solution?" she said softly. "If I say yes, it won't be for your empire. It'll be to change it." He was silent. But this time, she didn't stay to wait for his answer. The next morning, Zainab walked into the office, not to work, but to end it. She handed him an envelope. "My resignation." "You're making a mistake," Khalid said quietly. "No," she replied. "I made the mistake of thinking you saw me as more than a contract." That afternoon, she filed her business name. She Rises Collective, for girls who dared to dream past where they started. And this time, Zainab wasn't walking away from something. She was walking toward herself. She Rises. Collective became a wildfire. Girls from Gwagwalada to Karu lined up to be mentored by Zainab Musa, the girl who once walked barefoot, now leading a movement. Her face graced magazine covers, her speeches filled conference halls, but she didn't chase fame. She chased legacy. Then came the letter, a sealed envelope delivered by hand. Inside, an invitation to the National Archives. A clerk handed her a file marked Confidential Musa, Zainab. Her fingers trembled. Father, Alhaji Idris Musa. Oil magnate. Deceased. Inheritance. Unclaimed. Her knees buckled. She had spent her life building from nothing, only to discover she had come from everything. And now, she was wealthier than Khalid Danjuma himself. The news hit Abuja like thunder. Zainab Musa, heiress to Musa Oil Empire, trended everywhere. Khalid watched the press conference in silence. Zainab stood in a navy blue suit, declaring her plans to invest in sustainable energy and girl-led startups. The same men who once dismissed her now whispered about marrying into her power. That evening, Khalid showed up at her new office. "You earned it," he said. She tilted her head. "Did I? Or did the world just finally catch up?" He looked at her with open eyes. "I saw it. Too late. But I did?" She asked one question. "Now that I'm more powerful than you, would you still marry me?" He was stunned. She wasn't mocking. She was testing. "I would," he said, "because you're not part of my plan. You're the reason I tore it up." "Then prove it," she whispered, "not with power, with presence." And this time, when their hands brushed, she didn't pull away. Because love wasn't a contract. It was a choice.